PGP is on fire, or is it? Android P has new security measures, and Signal for desktop has a disappearing messages problem. All that coming up now on ThreatWire. Greetings, I am Shannon Morse and this is ThreatWire for May 15, 2018, your summary of the threats to our security, privacy, and internet freedom. Our Patreon is over at patreon.com/ThreatWire, and that is always the best way to support the show and will help us reach our next goal. So if you want access to exclusives, including the brand new Discord server, check out the Patreon link in the show notes below. And now, on to the news. All right, first, everyone, stop panicking. Stop uninstalling things. Let's just take a moment and talk about this new flaw having to do with PGP that everyone is talking about, including myself. Late Sunday night, news started surfacing about a serious flaw in PGP and S/MIME that could allow a third party to read encrypted emails. Once the research paper was released about that topic and analysis began, that claim was put into question. What exactly is going on? Well, PGP and S/MIME are both encryption techniques for email. PGP, or Pretty Good Privacy, was originally developed by Phil Zimmerman back in 1991, and S/MIME, or Secure Multipurpose Internet Mail Extensions, was developed by RSA Data Security. Both of these can be implemented by a user, a third party, or an email provider for better secure email text from prying eyes. When encrypted, the email looks like garbled junk and it can only be decrypted by the receiver's key. Or can it? Well, two CVEs released detailed vulnerabilities in the way PGP and S/MIME protocols are implemented with specific email providers. The CVEs are CVE 2017-17688 and 17689. Dubbed eFail, the attack can allow a third party to view encrypted emails as plain text by abusing the active content options within HTML emails. This could be like images or some kind of fancy stylized content by stealing the plain text version of emails through URL requests. So here's the catch. The attacker must already have access to your emails. So they could be snooping on your network, or they could be stealing your email password and spying on you that way, or whatever it might be. They need to have those encrypted emails first in hand so that they can steal the ciphertext. Once they have an encrypted email in hand, they can change it on its way to the receiver, and when the receiver loads up PGP or S/MIME emails on their email provider or platform to be automatically decrypted, the email will also load up external content which will exfiltrate that plain text data. eFail.de actually has a really easy to understand example. With direct exfiltration, clients such as Apple Mail, iOS Mail, and Mozilla Thunderbird can be exploited. After an attacker has the encrypted email in hand, they'll add a few lines of HTML to the body of text. The first line is an open image SRC link, just like any other HTML link. Next is the PGP or S/MIME ciphertext, which is to say the resulting cipher after encryption is put on a plain text phrase. And then last is a closing tag for that HTML image line. This is sent to the user, and the user's client decrypts it, including the ciphertext, which shows the plain text data that they are expecting. But since that image tag is there, it takes the three different parts, it sticks them all together, it creates a link out of that image tag in plain text, and it sends it to the attacker's domain. So the attacker ends up seeing the plain text as a part of the link. The second attack works with CBC and CFB gadgets to attack. CBC, or cipher block chaining, which was first created in 1976, is a specific way of encrypting plain text. In this mode, those blocks of plain text are algorithmically combined, it's called XORed or XORed, with older ciphertext blocks before being encrypted. Cipher feedback, or CFB mode, is similar and almost identical when it comes to how the two modes are decrypted. In this case, an attacker can add an image tag to the email, but only if they know at least part of the plain text. In the case of S/MIME emails that start with content type, multi-part signed, that's plain text, and as such, part of it is already known. They can then work backwards from there to decrypt the entire email. The researchers recommend turning off or disabling the automatic decryption options in vulnerable email clients and doing the process yourself, and/or disabling viewing of HTML incoming emails. Email client vendors can also patch their platforms, some of which who've already had this vulnerability for a good decade or longer. And lastly, OpenPGP and SMIME need to be updated. But should you disable it? Well, here's the thing. It doesn't affect every email provider, and many of them are actually fine. 25 out of 35 SMIME and 10 out of 28 PGP clients are actually affected, so not all of them. Vulnerable clients include Windows Outlook, Thunderbird, Apple's Mail options, and Gmail, amongst others. Unaffected clients include Proton Mail, which we've talked about on Hack5 before, Claws, Mutt, and a few others. This also needs to be a targeted attack, as the malicious actor, again, would need access to those emails first. And here's another thing. According to GNU-PG, something called Modified Detection Code, or MDC, has been used to authenticate encryption in email clients since the early 2000s, so almost 2 decades. For email clients that don't use MDC for authenticated encryption, they completely miss this already known vulnerability with HTML and still allow the end user to decrypt the email in the client without flagging it or giving them any kind of warning. Because of this, GNU-PG could be considered more secure than SMIME. Now, according to Robert J. Hansen, who is a team member for GNU-PG and an evangelist, if you are using Enigmail, for example, you can update to the 2.0 release just to be safe. I would love to know your thoughts below on this story. There is a lot of discussion, also a lot of drama happening in regards to responsible disclosure, who's really at fault for this problem, are they email clients, protocols, or both of them at fault? What do you think? Comment below and I will upvote my favorites. Chosen by our Patreon patrons just for this episode is a slew of information regarding security and privacy coming out of Google I/O. Google I/O happened last week out here in Northern California, and the company is introducing a few new important details for users, specifically regarding how they will handle data going into GDPR changes and how the new Android platform will go on and handle malicious apps. Now, we didn't receive a bunch of information about data collection and privacy, but what we did receive was good. On May 25th, the same day GDPR goes into effect, Google will roll out these new policies, which are public at time of recording. The new policy has been simplified and is way more user-friendly, with details outlined on an easier-to-read page, including hyperlinks for each topic and graphics at the beginning of each chapter. My personal favorite part of the redesign is the included links that go directly to your settings pages, so it's much easier to navigate away from the policy to change your own preferences without having to go through pages and 10s and 20s of clicks to get there. They've also included some cute little graphical YouTube videos that explain what settings they collect and why, along with how all of these are used, and a few examples as well. All of this is supposed to help the company be more transparent to their users. Google is also emailing users about the changes for GDPR compliance, so keep an eye out on your inbox for more information. Next up is Android P, which is currently in open beta and will be released later this year to their series of Android phones. Android P will stop developers from being able to access the camera, microphones, and other similar sensors while the app is running in the background. Android P will also give developers more control over keeping sensitive data private so third-party applications cannot access it. Now, in that case, I feel like this will be really good for banks and other financial applications that have that kind of private access. Lastly, Android P will also allow for implementation of Strongbox keymasters in hardware. This is a security module that creates a keymaster hardware abstraction layer that contains its own CPU, secure storage, true random number generator, and more to prevent tampering from applications. It's a place in hardware that basically is stick-sensitive data that can be stored for better protection. And since as of 2017, Android is running on 84% of smartphones in the entire world, that's a lot of smartphones, these crucial steps towards better user security are definitely an improvement. But will we see less malicious apps in the Play Store though? Not likely. I feel like malicious apps are still going to be an issue. On May 8th, security researcher Alec Muffet discovered an issue in Signal Desktop for macOS. Basically, if you are using the Signal macOS desktop app and you receive a message, even a disappearing one, it will stay persistently on your notifications bar even if they deleted it from the app. Why is this the case? Well, it turns out it all has to do with the way Signal handles its own calls to the macOS notification tool. This notification tool lets a user interact in a few ways. Either they can click close, or the application can dismiss the notification, or the user can open the notification center where all the notifications are stored and click X next to the notifications. Either way, the notification will end up in the notification center whether or not a user interacts with it, and that's just kind of how macOS works. In the case of Signal, this app sends a new message to the notification center and the OS dismisses it so that it just ends up hiding in the background, but Signal does not delete the notification itself. It lives on in the notification center unless a user deletes it manually. Luckily though, this is a really easy thing to mitigate as an end user. You can turn notifications off or hide sensitive data in those notifications that get pushed to your machine. Signal does not straight up tell macOS to delete messages after they have been read in the app, and all messages are in turn stored in a database on the machine. The database of notifications is stored in a format that is not encrypted, so it's really easy to change it from hexadecimal format back to plain text. Again, including those disappearing messages, so that's kind of the scary part. Turning on full disk encryption can also help with mitigating this attack as long as a malicious actor can't decrypt your drive with your password. And lastly, Signal has pushed an update to desktop users which will remove notifications once read or upon exit. So if you have not updated and you use Signal Desktop for macOS, you might want to update right now. Patrons! Make sure to share your favorite stories in the community tab or on Discord. Every Friday I will pick 3 or more top stories for a voting poll that patrons can vote on to be included in the next week's show. Patrons get access to a downloadable audio version of the show, first looks at show topics, polls, discussions just for patrons, my own fur baby photos, behind the scene pictures, and now that Discord server just for patrons at $2 per month and up. So join now to get access to all of those and help support the show. The next goal covers the cost of upgrading all this new equipment that we have in this new studio, like the new camera that I'm currently recording on, and it also opens up that live video Q&A just for patrons each and every month. And a big thank you to our Hush Puppy Perk level patrons for sending in their fur baby photos. I love them. The new one is adorable. Thank you very much, Michael. Hit the subscribe button or share the episode on your favorite social media page as well. And with that, I'm Shannon Morse, and I will see you on the internet.
Never